Here's what just happened in AI this week. OpenAI killed its own viral video app. China fell in love with a slightly terrifying AI lobster. Big tech started casually talking about economic AGI, and the White House laid down its first real blueprint for how AI should be regulated. Let's break this down. So first up, OpenAI just pulled the plug on Sora, their own viral AI video platform, right after signing a huge deal with Disney. So Sora was OpenAI's big play in AI video, a system that could generate short films that looked suspiciously close to Hollywood-grade footage, and a consumer app where people shared these clips like TikToks. Disney even did a multi-year licensing deal so users could legally drop famous characters into their AI-generated videos. Reportedly, a 3-year partnership worth around $1 billion in investment and character rights. Now here's the twist. OpenAI just announced it's bidding farewell to Sora, shutting down both the consumer app and the pro service people used for film and TV visuals. Publicly, they framed it as a refocus. Video will live on mostly as an internal tool for things like training robots using simulated real-world footage instead of as a mass-market product. But the way this happened is what makes it crazy. According to reporting, Disney teams were literally on a working call with OpenAI about a Sora project, and half an hour later they discovered on social media that the entire app was dead. One source inside called it a big rug pull, and the deal never actually closed. No money changed hands before Sora was canceled. So why kill something that went viral so fast? One big reason: risk and cost. Sora had become a magnet for deepfake worries and consent debates, exactly the kind of AI eats Hollywood scenario regulators and studios are terrified of. At the same time, running a free or cheap AI video service is brutally expensive. Video models burn way more compute and energy than text chatbots, and Sora didn't have a clear path to sustainable revenue. Basically, an OpenAI seems to be saying, "We can't afford side quests right now." They're reportedly gearing up for a possible IPO, raising vast amounts of capital, and racing to deploy next-gen models. And consumer video drama is a distraction. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Sora leaves a vacuum in AI video, and competitors time their moves almost perfectly. While OpenAI is backing away from consumer video, China is doing something completely different. People there are literally raising lobsters. That's their nickname for OpenClaw agents, and security researchers are freaking out about it. OpenClaw is an open-source personal AI agent framework that doesn't just answer questions. You give it permission, and it actually does stuff on your computer. Think: organizing and replying to your email, drafting reports, booking restaurant reservations, even interacting with other apps, all controlled by natural language instructions instead of you clicking every button. In China, this turned into a full-blown craze. People talk about raising lobsters, training their personal OpenClaw agent like a digital pet that gradually takes over more of their life admin. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang even called OpenClaw the next ChatGPT and the most successful open-sourced project in human history, which is not exactly a low-key endorsement. But here's the thing: the more power you give an autonomous agent, the scarier the security story gets. Authorities issued a warning saying OpenClaw can directly control user computers via natural language, and that weak default security makes people vulnerable to prompt injection, where hidden instructions trick the agent into doing harmful actions. Then outside China, security researchers started poking at how people were deploying this thing. One widely shared report claimed more than 21,000 instances were publicly exposed on the internet, with open access that could potentially give outsiders a path into connected email accounts, calendars, smart home systems, and more. Even if that exact number is debated, the core issue is obvious. Once an AI agent wires into the systems that organize your life, a misconfigured server isn't just a nerd problem. It's an account takeover problem. And remember, this is all happening as OpenClaw is being showcased as the new AI operating system, where it's portrayed as a key layer for agentic workflows. Security companies are rushing to wrap guardrails around it, arguing that autonomous agents create a brand new attack surface traditional security tools don't monitor. So basically, what you're looking at here is the first real stress test of everyday people giving AI agents real permissions. Chatbots stayed inside the browser, lobsters log into your email, and that's the shift from AI that chats to AI that acts, with the risk moving from hallucinated answers to very real, very irreversible clicks. So now zoom out. Google just rolled out a major upgrade to Gemini 3 Deep Think, a special mode of its Gemini 3 model built specifically for hard reasoning in science, research, and engineering. Instead of optimizing for snappy conversational replies, Deep Think is designed to think longer and verify its own work, using internal checks to handle messy, incomplete data. On benchmarks, it's doing numbers that used to sound like science fiction. One independent write-up notes Gemini 3 Deep Think hitting 48.4% on humanity's last exam, a test explicitly designed to probe the outer limits of what frontier models can do without tools. A benchmark focused on adapting to entirely new tasks, not just regurgitating patterns. It reportedly scores around 84.6%, which some researchers argue is encroaching on human expert territory for certain problem types. In a fresh analysis of AI's impact on fintech and the broader economy, coverage of NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang's recent comments highlights a new term, economic AGI. Huang's argument, paraphrased, is basically, if you define AGI as an AI system that can launch, grow, and run a technology company worth more than $1 billion, then we're essentially there or very close. So let's contrast this. Traditional AGI talk was about cognition. Can a model write poetry, do math, understand jokes, match human flexibility? Economic AGI says forget vibes. Can this thing reliably perform the high-value tasks needed to build and operate a large company? Coding, strategy, marketing, operations, with minimal human oversight at a cost that undercuts human labor enough to be transformative? Deep think-style models are the missing piece for that story. If they can reliably reason about complex code bases, scientific pipelines, or financial systems. So we've got video apps dying, lobsters doing your email, and models that can almost pass humanity's last exam. Now, the obvious question is, who's actually in charge of all this? On March 20th, the White House released its National Policy Framework for Artificial Intelligence, basically a legislative blueprint telling Congress how it wants the U.S. to regulate AI. Multiple top law firms have already put out client alerts because the message is pretty clear. The Trump administration wants a unified federal light-touch regime, think laws like Colorado's AI Act, from dictating how frontier AI gets built. In plain language, Washington wants to set one national rulebook and stop individual states from independently throttling AI development, closing gaps where people currently have limited control over their own identity in synthetic media. But on training data and copyright, the framework basically punts. It explicitly suggests leaving the big "is training on copyrighted content fair use?" question to the courts, rather than trying to legislate it directly right now. That's a huge contrast to the European Union's AI Act, which leans more heavily into prescriptive rules, transparency obligations, and risk-tiered enforcement. The other piece is national security and infrastructure. The framework calls for boosting federal technical capacity to deal with frontier models and ensuring agencies can work directly with leading labs on issues like biosecurity and cyber risk, while simultaneously encouraging massive AI infrastructure build-out on everything from data centers to specialized chips. In other words, yes, regulate the scary stuff, but also, please, build this as fast as possible and do it federally, not state by state. So if you visualize the map here, Europe is moving toward a heavier centralized compliance regime under the EU AI Act. The US is sketching a looser, pro-innovation, but preemptive national framework. And all of this is landing right as Sora gets canned, lobsters go mainstream, and CEOs start rebranding AGI as something already here. So yeah, in 1 week, we got video pulled, agents unleashed, models that basically think for hours, and a first draft of how governments want to tame all of it. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, like, and subscribe to the channel. Take care and bye for now.